The most valuable thing about healthcare isn't the medicine or the technology, it's the people. The healthcare industry brings together brilliant, highly motivated experts. If you'd like to learn more about today's most unique game changers, then check out the Heart of Healthcare podcast, right here on the OffScrip Health Podcast Network. Join host Holly Tecco, founder of Natalist and Rock Health, as she talks with the industry's most exciting experts. Check out the 23andMe episode, where 23andMe founder Ann Wojcicki shares the highs and lows of this journey, including getting an FDA warning letter, going public, and genotyping over 12 million customers. In an episode called The Crooked Truth About D2C Dentistry Startups, orthodontist and entrepreneur Dr. Ingrid Mora explains the state of venture-backed dentistry. The number of online companies offering mail-order invisible aligners is booming. But Dr. Mora says some are ruining people's teeth and harming their overall health. For more information, visit offscrip.com/shows. That's offscrip, no T.com/shows. The link will be in our show notes.
In 2009, when I was 25, just 475 women froze their eggs. In 2020, more than 17,000 women froze their eggs. This incredible growth has been driven by a few things. One, women are starting families later than ever. The latest figures show that the average age of a woman giving birth is now 30 in the US, the highest ever on record. Second, back in 2012, ASRM removed the experimental label from egg freezing procedures. This really opened the door to clinics beginning to educate and market this service to women nationwide. Not freezing my eggs earlier is one of my biggest regrets in life, which is why I'm really excited to have helped launch a new company in this space. A few weeks ago, we announced Cofertility, where I'm the co-founder and chair. And today I'm excited to be talking to my co-founder and our CEO, Lauren Mackler. Lauren spent 8.5 years at Uber, where after launching new markets on the East Coast, she saw research that showed millions of Americans miss doctor's appointments every year because they don't have access to a reliable ride. She then conceived of, built, and led the Uber Health team, which launched in 2018 and was a $100 million business in the first 18 months. During her time at Uber, Lauren was also diagnosed with an incredibly rare disease that affects less than 200 people globally. This inspired her to start a reproductive health company, and we reconnected in 2021 about our mutual passion for women's health, and the rest is history. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Hi, Hallie. Thank you for having me.
I am so
listener.
I know. I'm excited to share with my listeners what we've been building for over a year now. Do you want to give us, is there a quick TLDR? I don't even know if we have a quick one.
Yeah, I'll try here. So we launched our company Cofertility, which is reshaping egg freezing and egg donation to make it more accessible, human, and community driven. It was born out of the new reality that the way we build families is more dynamic than ever and looks different for everybody. So our platform is, at its core, we're giving women the opportunity to freeze their eggs for free when they donate half of the eggs retrieved to a family who can't otherwise conceive, like people who struggle with infertility, gay dads, cancer survivors, and more.
Very good. That was a pretty good TLDR. I think one of the things that we are just always trying to help people understand is this. It's like we're helping two very distinct groups at two very different times in their life. Why do you think that fertility care is broken on both of these sides for young women who want to preserve their fertility as then for families seeking egg donation?
I could say so much about both. I think on the egg freezing side, we know that women are starting their families later than ever. And we know that egg freezing is no longer considered experimental. So it's absolutely like a great way for women to have more control over their reproductive timeline. Not an insurance policy and shouldn't be thought of as one, but it is a great backup option for those who struggle with infertility. The biggest problem, though, is the cost, right? It's just absolutely cost prohibitive.
Can
On
you put a
average,
number? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, on average, it's of course it's between $12,000 and $20,000 in the U.S. for people to freeze their eggs, and then there's a cost of keeping those eggs stored yearly. And unfortunately, the best time to freeze your eggs is the younger you are, right? It's when you can least afford that, and it's just not covered for enough people. So that's my biggest issue on the egg freezing side. Really, is cost.
Yeah.
Egg donation, I think, is one where this one I truly could talk about all day. I think there's a lot of stigma around egg donation, and I think it's largely rooted in the cash compensation model, right? So egg donors are paid with cash compensation, making it feel transactional, impersonal, and the word that I use for it, honestly, is icky for everybody involved. So that's including the donor or the intended parent, and ultimately the donor-conceived child down the line. We saw a recent Harvard study that showed that 62% of donor-conceived adults take issue with the exchange of money for donor eggs, and 40.6% of them were disturbed by the fact that money was exchanged in their own conception. So I think that the cash compensation piece is a real missed opportunity, right? Like there are women who I think ultimately it's someone doing good, right? It's providing like a life-altering opportunity for a family, and that stigma might prevent someone from doing that. So it discourages women from doing it. It also, I think, leaves intended parents with fewer options, and it especially hurts the LGBTQ community that relies on egg donation for family planning. The industry too, in general, I think is just like antiquated and disappointing, right? Like intended parents are scrolling through clunky online profiles, or they're sent like a spreadsheet list of donors where every row on a spreadsheet is a different woman. And so these services are either like overemphasizing classist attributes or good looks, or it just feels like, you're not getting to know someone on a personal level.
Yeah. On the cash come side, it's illegal to buy and sell human organs and tissues in the United States, but people are able to buy gametes. Why do you think that this has been allowed? I know in some countries, you're not allowed to. A lot of European countries, you're not actually allowed to pay for eggs. Why do you think that this is like a carve out? And how are you thinking about that?
I think it's a carve out because of the time involved for someone to donate eggs and for the commitment to the process, right? Like it's a little bit different to donate eggs, and by a little I mean it's a lot different to donate eggs than it is to donate sperm. Someone is going through the process of a full egg retrieval cycle, and where it came from, or the way that it's articulated today is that cash compensation is sort of helping to offset the time and energy that a woman is putting into the process. I think that like ASRM, the American Society for Reproductive Medication, says that egg donor compensation can open the door to exploitation. And we agree with that, right? And that's for us a reason that our model, instead of providing donor compensation, we are enabling both parties to benefit in a very meaningful, personal way that honors everyone involved instead of just focusing on the cash piece of it.
And one of the things that you and I always talk about is around how, this market started with sperm donation, right? Like that is, sperm donation has been around longer than egg donation. And there are some standards and the status quo that has been set based on sperm donation that doesn't necessarily translate well to egg donation, but is just part of the legacy system. What are some things that like you see that really need to be changed within egg donation that we're trying to do?
Yeah. First and foremost is anonymous donation. And I think that really came from the sperm donation side. We recognize that anonymous egg donation is like absolutely not realistic in today's world. How many people are using 23andMe or other genetic tests finding someone who has your shared genetics is just commonplace today. Imagine what it will be 18 years from now when a baby that's born today is, looking to find their genetic roots. I think that unfortunately there are a ton of egg donor banks and agencies that are still offering anonymous donation. And I think that's misleading for donors. I think it's misleading for intended parents, but it also does a huge disservice to the donor conceived child and later donor conceived adult, right? Like we believe that everyone deserves to know their conception story and that they should have access to any information involving their genetics. And that's why we really stand firm and encourage disclosed donation. Having an openness about that information is something that we'd like to see more of in the industry and something that our team just cares so deeply about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one of the hardest pieces of today's like status quo in egg donation is just how transactional it is and how the agencies are just kind of like in and out. Like they're just like, okay,
Totally.
here's donor, here's a procedure. The donor is paid, they move on. And it's the default is anonymous and you never, you have no connection with like no thought to that child that you're bringing into this world. And so I'm so excited about what we're doing is because we're using the best practices. We're using evidence from early research. There's not a ton of research, but there's enough that we have the indication that donor conceived people who are just now starting to come of age, since this is a newer, newer concept, there are things that can be super traumatic to them. And we feel a duty to these children who are so loved and wanted to make sure that they are being brought into a world where they have the same human rights as any other child.
Absolutely. Just to add to that, Hallie, I think like the other thing that we do that I wish more players in the space would do is this concept of like a mutual match, right? Like this is not a scenario where like when we call them split members. So someone who joins our split program is eagerly, and I'm so excited about the women we've had come through and that like they aren't just in this for their own future fertility. They really do want to help another family grow. They have the option, like after an intended parent views their profile and learns about them, we give the split member information about the intended parent. And we say, hey, like, is this a match that you're interested in? Would you like to meet each other ahead of time? Rather than just like saying like, oh, you sign up with us and your eggs go to whoever. I think that like giving women a say in the match is just so important and the way this industry needs to start to move.
It really, I mean, the status quo at egg banks, at least, is that a woman will freeze her eggs and they're split up into multiple lots. They go to multiple families. There are potentially multiple children with different parents out there that have no tie to each other or to that donor. The donor has no idea how many children have been conceived using her eggs. And it just feels icky. There are a lot of benefits to frozen eggs. And the biggest benefit is just speed, right? Like I get why egg banks exist. Because people just want to have, if you're at the point of needing donor eggs, you just want to have a baby as quickly as possible. You've probably been on a really long journey if you're someone who's faced infertility or you're a cancer survivor. And so these options have been created to fulfill a need of moving fast, but they haven't been created to fulfill a need of doing it in a human-centered way. So I'm excited about that. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of how the platform works and maybe just from like the perspective of young women wanting to be part of our Keep or Split programs?
Yeah, totally. So our Freeze by Co platform is where we enable women to more accessibly pursue egg freezing through two programs. One is the one that we mentioned, which is our Split program. And those who qualify can freeze and store their eggs for free when they give half of the eggs retrieved to an intended parent who can't otherwise conceive. We also have a Keep program, and that program enables women to freeze their eggs and store them all for their own later use while taking advantage of discounts throughout the process to lighten the financial load. And no matter which program you join, Our members have access to a private online community where people talk openly about their egg freezing experience and are able to sort of support each other throughout it in real time. The process is pretty simple to join either of those programs, where you sign up online and you fill out information about yourself that lets us know if you qualify. And we stick with the clinical standards that are set forth by ASRM and the FDA as it relates to egg donation. And we're really clear with women, if they don't qualify, we'll let them know why, and also give them access to our KEEP program. And if they do, they move forward where they'll interview with someone on our team, and then they will be added to our Family by Co platform. And that is where intended parents are able to match with one of the egg donors in our split program. So from there, we make matches in, what we feel is like a really personal and empathetic way, where we've heard from a lot of intended parents that our profiles are really thorough and thoughtful, and share more about a donor than just like her physical attributes and her medical history. For us, we took forever, as you know, Hallie, to
Yes.
design that profile, because we wanted to be able to like introduce these women to intended parents on a deeper level, right? Like, who are they as a human? So many of the intended parents tell me, like, I want to find the person I connect with, right? And if you're just reading stats about a person's like physical attributes, you just can't get that. And so our profiles are really in depth. And we also give intended parents the option to meet with a split member ahead of moving forward. And the other thing too is that we do work with intended parents to give them resources throughout the entire process, education on how to handle the entire process, as well as like what it's like to raise a donor conceived child. But I do want to add that like we absolutely welcome all intended parents, whether they're single or coupled, regardless of what brought them to us. It's important that we support them with compassion and respect whatever path is best for them, knowing that people who've come to us have come for like a huge variety of reasons.
And I think our team and our investor list kind of is representative of the sort of families that we serve, which is, I think, really important. We'll be right back after the break.
Hey guys, it's Matthew Zachary, and I want to tell you about the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, or the NCCN. The NCCN creates the treatment guidelines for doctors that help cancer patients lead better lives. But I want you to know that the NCCN also has guidelines for you. The patient guidelines were funded by the NCCN Foundation and were created just for people with cancer and their caregivers. They're free, they're easy to understand, and they're available right now for you, the patient and the caregiver. So go check them out at nccn.org/empower. That's nccn.org/empower.
Why do you think it's important that we have both the keep and the split option for women versus just only offering this like split your eggs and
Oh my gosh, this has been something I've been passionate about since day one, because donation isn't going to be for everybody, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be for everyone. I think that so much of fertility care needs to be about providing choice and accessibility. And I think that giving women an option between keep and split helps deliver on that idea. I think that, one, either it's not for everybody or people don't necessarily qualify. I don't want to leave someone hanging who really wants to freeze their eggs and wants to keep their reproductive options open later in life and just say like, nope, sorry, can't help you. Like, I think so much of fertility care, unfortunately, feels like a black box and feels kind of confusing, despite clinics really trying hard to educate and provide resources. I think, clinics are the ones who should be giving clinical care and organizations like ours can help provide education and resources and sort of demystify the process. So if we can help someone understand like the best options near them to freeze their eggs from an affordability standpoint or from an outcome standpoint, I would love if we can help support that. And then the community piece is huge, right? Like, I don't think you need to be a donor to benefit from being part of a community of other people going through what you're going through at the same time.
Yep.
There's
It's the
just
same
like
medical procedure. Literally.
exactly.
It's the same.
It's
Same
literally
retrieval.
the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
And studies show, unfortunately, like egg freezing can be very lonely and isolating. And I don't think it has to be.
It shouldn't be. It should be like super empowering. And
Yes.
like you're giving yourself more options and increasing your chances of having a family down the line. Like how
Yes.
cool is that? Like,
Yeah.
good for you for like being proactive about it. It shouldn't be something that you feel bad about.
There's something to be said. Like, I'm in a mommy and me group with other moms who have babies within 8 weeks of each other. And the fact that we're all like in it at the same time gave us something to bond over. And also when my daughter throws up at 11 p.m., gives me people who like get it. And we want to bring that experience to egg freezing, and it should absolutely exist.
So we've had over 5,600 women apply in just a few short weeks, which is crazy. So we know that women are really interested in this, but I'm curious, like what types of people are coming to us to become split members, and why are they coming to Cofertility?
I am so excited by that number. I think what's interesting about the women that we're seeing is that this generation is just so much more open-minded about everything, right? There's a unique approach to careers, to reproductive health is no different for them. I think generally speaking, they're passionate about reproductive health. They're bought into the cause of like a more human empathetic system. And they're definitely motivated by the problem and opportunity more than money here. So what we're seeing is that these women are also, I think, like understanding of the fact that the way families are created are different, right? So many of them have friends, either are members of or have friends in the LGBTQ community, knowing that like there's always a need for third-party reproduction in that community, and that if you want to have a baby, you need someone else to contribute. There's also this infertility is no longer a taboo subject. So many of the women we're hearing from are like, oh, my best friend struggled with her fertility and I really want to freeze my eggs, or I don't ever want to see another family go through what my sister went through. And if I can help another family, I would love that. I think there are generally women who are like prioritizing other parts of their life over family planning. So they might be very invested in their career right now, or hobbies, or especially higher education. They're seeing family as just like a lower priority for their current lifestyle. So that doesn't mean they don't want it to be part of their future, but it's just not necessarily a number one priority today. One of the things we've seen is 61% of our current active split members have a graduate degree or higher. So it's just illustrating the prioritization of life outside of family planning.
Yeah. And I also think we're attracting women who wouldn't do it for a few $1,000s. They wouldn't see like an ad for a few $1,000s in the bus stop and take them up on it, but would, be interested in preserving their own fertility as well as, supporting another family along the way. On the Family by Co side, so that's the part of the platform that's serving these families and helping them match with a great egg donor. What are intended parents looking for that they're not getting elsewhere in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one is probably diversity. We hear often that intended parents are looking for a donor who reflects their own cultural background. And unfortunately, that's just something that there's not enough of in the existing and egg donation space, right? Like, my hope is that what we're doing sort of opens up the pie of more people who are interested in egg donation and helps fill that gap from a diversity standpoint. I think the other piece is that they do really want to connect with the woman who's going to help them grow their family. And unfortunately, that's not always the case with a lot of the options that are out there. And I think they also, want to connect with other intended parents and have resources for life beyond just bringing a baby home from the hospital.
The egg donation industry has been accused largely of being coercive and having women do it for the money, for a quick buck that might not truly understand the risk, not understand I don't want to say consequences, but the fact that they're helping bring a child into this world that will share a genetic makeup with them. They will be the biological mother of a child. How do you see us avoiding that coercive title and ensuring that women are fully informed?
Great question. I think first, taking out cash compensation is part of that. But when it comes to deciding whether to pursue our split program or to become a donor, one, I think it absolutely is on us to do real education with everybody who comes through. But we believe that women are smart and that they can handle the nuances that we educate them on, and that they're fully capable of making those decisions for themselves. For decades, people have debated whether women should be able to make important decisions about their bodies and their reproductive health. And unfortunately, that continues to be an extremely polarizing and tenuous issue. But we believe they absolutely should, right? That more options in fertility care and more agency to make those decisions is the best path forward, especially when it comes to access of fertility preservation, LGBTQ resources, and just more human approaches in this space. So we believe that and that women are absolutely capable of understanding the complexities of these options and that they can make those decisions for themselves. But we absolutely play a role in helping with education.
I mean, on that note, you kind of alluded to reproductive justice in a way. And I'm curious how concerned you are about the overturning of Roe versus Wade and the impact it has on freezers and families.
We're closely following the ongoing debate around if and how frozen embryos will be addressed in the context of overturning of the overturning of Roe. I wish we had more answers. It's so hard to speculate on what this could mean because we're literally watching history unfold before our eyes. What I will say is that we are absolutely on the side of women and intended parents and their power to make the decisions that are right for them, no matter what those decisions may be. So we'll always stand by women in preserving their fertility and intended parents and third-party reproduction. That will never change, and we'll keep participating in the ongoing advocacy and education around those.
Yeah. It's been interesting to watch women's health companies take a stand. A lot have taken a stand at the risk of alienating or losing certain followers, customers, et cetera. And then there are a few that have kind of remained quiet. I'm curious what kind of company you want to build if, you want to take a stand, even if it means it being a target or alienating, politically different folks.
We'll always take a stand on that front, right? I think it's about delivering on our mission, which is just helping more people have babies on their own timeline, right? And that has to be our guiding light throughout all of this. And if that means that we upset some people along the way, it's unfortunate that that's the case, but it's not going to change our approach at all. It's just not.
Well, I'm curious what you're most excited about in the next year. What are some of the things that we're working on that you're just most jazzed about?
Well, I have to just say, every single time we make a match between an intended parent and a split member is the most, it's like my birthday every time. I'm so excited. So I'm just, every time that happens, I get excited. I want to see that number grow. And I think, having some babies be born will be even more exciting. So
I know. 9 months
that's
from now.
huge. We do have some exciting things coming early next year. But that's all I'll say about that for now. But
we'll do another episode for that.
Deal. But it's the matches for me right now.
Yeah.
It's really the best.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see people, like when we were working on this before we launched, a lot of this was like our instincts that there was appetite for a new model that is just completely rewriting the experience for everyone, a new approach, a new voice, even just, we always say this, but like most of the agencies in the space, most of the matching platforms, whatever you call it, egg banks, they don't even have like an About Us page. They are like purely these like business fronts, and you have no idea who you're working with. And we kind of, are putting our reputations on the line because we are trying to do this differently. And it's been just awesome to see that a lot of these early decisions that we've made have so far been well received. And we've just had, it's been a wild few weeks.
It really has. It's exceeded all of my expectations in the best way. But I think, at our core, we're three women co-founders who all have had, winding roads to parenthood, who like also have spent our careers building other things that impact people's lives in a positive way. And so taking our like professional backgrounds and combining that with something that we all feel so passionate about has been huge, right? Like me, you, Ariel, like this is more than just, a job to all of us. And our amazing team that we've put together, right? Like we all just feel so deeply connected to this mission that I think that comes through for our members.
Yeah. What advice do you have for others that are looking to start companies in the women's health space?
I realize this now. It's also the same advice I would give someone on their fertility journey after my own experience, which is remain steadfast on the ultimate vision and goal and allow some flexibility on the path to getting there.
Amazing. I love it. Well, Lauren, thank you for being here. I will see you in a few minutes on another call, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But thank you. And if anyone is interested in learning more about what we're doing, check us out at cofertility.com.
Yes. Thanks for having me. I love this podcast. So this is fun.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Heart of Healthcare. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, follow us on social, and tell all your friends to listen. The Heart of Healthcare is a product of OffScrip Health. We are a healthcare engagement company built for patients and caregivers by patients and caregivers. Our executive producers are Matthew Zachary and Andrew McDowell. Our senior producer is Brianna Seeley. Our host is Hallie Tecco. It is recorded, mixed, and edited by Brianna Seeley. For advertising and media inquiries, email media@offscrip.com. That's media@offscrip.com. For more information, visit offscrip.com.